Updated the English.
Broadcasting from Kigali. Here is the news in English, brought to you by Fiona Umuganwa. The headlines. President Paul Kagame received President Nyusi this morning in Kigali. In a bid to boost productivity of the country's agriculture sector, Rwanda Soil Information Service has launched a survey on soil fertility in the country. The Ministries of Education, Agriculture and that of Gender and Family Promotion have been tasked to present before the Parliament strategies they have in place to address issues of child rights abuse. Mali's ruling military junta has appeared unflinching so far in the face of economic sanctions imposed a month ago by the country's West African neighbors. Now the news in detail. Received President Nyusi this morning in Kigali for a meeting to discuss the good progress that has been made between Rwanda and Mozambique in the ongoing cooperation towards securing Cabo Delgado as well as other areas of bilateral collaboration. The governor of the southern province, Emmanuel Gasana, accompanied by the Director General of the Rwanda Governance Board, Dr. Usta Kaitesi, and other officials have officially launched a service week program in the southern province. At the launch of the program, officials visited the Nyagatare Health Center. The mayor of Nyagatare District, Gasana Stephen, indicated that the expansion of the health center has reached 75%, which is expected to provide better services. At the launch, the officials also issued land titles, IDs and solar panels to residents of areas not yet electrified. Governor Gasana said this week was launched to promote the provision of services and to remind the authorities that the provision of quality services is their responsibility. Director General of RGB, Dr. Usta Kaitesi, says the governance which we have chosen as Rwandans puts the people first and foremost, and it is based on good services. The Senate Committee for Social Welfare and Human Rights has appreciated the work done in Gicumbi District in promoting unity and reconciliation. Moise Chirenga, the Executive Secretary of Gicumbi District, indicated that before the Commission for Social Welfare was created to sensitize people on unity and reconciliation, the residents did not get along with each other. Honorable Habineza Faustin, Vice President of the Social Welfare and Human Rights Committee, applauded the residents on their unity. In Rwanda, the National Reconciliation Commission was established in 1999 after it was revealed that Rwandans still had a lot of wounds caused by the genocide against the Tutsi in 1994. The Court of Appeal has adjourned the case against Rusesabagina Paul and his associates because of a defendant who did not appear in court for medical reasons. After reading the profiles of all defendants in the Court of Appeal, the President of the Court, Rukundakuvuga François Regis, pointed out that one of the defendants, Anastase Munyanez, did not appear in court due to illness and asked his lawyer to comment. Hidman Twaja Mahoro, a lawyer presenting Munyanez Anastase, said his client was critically ill because he already had a heart problem and that the prison authorities had proven it. The plaintiffs and the prosecution also indicated that the case will be adjourned for the benefit of the judiciary. The president of the Court of Appeal, Rukunda Kuvuga, decided the case will be resumed on February 16th, 2022. The Ministries of Education, Agriculture and that of Gender and Family Promotion have been tasked to present before the Parliament strategies they have in place to address issues of child rights abuse. This was resolved during a plenary hearing held following a report on children's rights that was presented by the Parliamentary Committee of Unity, Human Rights and Fight Against Genocide. According to the committee chairperson, MP Veneranda Nyirahirwa, the assessment made by the committee discovered several issues that hinder children's rights. The Ministry of Education will present to the Parliament the strategies in place to curb school dropout, lack of enough playtime for children in schools. The Ministry of Gender and Family Promotion will explain the strategies in place to curb the problem of stunting that still exists, and challenges in ECDs and the lack of follow-up on children of 5 and above who still get stunted. And the Ministry of Agriculture and Animal Resource will explain the policies in place to help local farmers to produce more crops for their families and the policies around teaching citizens proper ways of growing nutritious foods as a way of making sure children have a proper meal. The ministries should appear before the legislators in less than 6 months. In a bid to boost productivity of the country's agriculture sector, Rwanda Soil Information Service has launched a survey on soil fertility in the country, which will inform the type or quantity of fertilizer or lime to be applied in a particular field. The project, which will cost 1.9 billion Rwandan francs, is funded by Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and will specifically tackle 6 select crops in 27 districts across the country. According to officials, the 6 selected crops are maize, beans, wheat, cassava, rice, and Irish potatoes.
Some items of international news on Radio Imanzi.
President Nyusi called on the European Union to provide financial support to the Rwandan Armed Forces and the South African Development Community in counter-terrorism activities in Cabo Delgado province. President Nyusi expressed concern that the counter-terrorism operation launched by the RDF and the SADC forces will not last long in Mozambique due to limited financial capacity. Support from the European Union is needed to advance the fight against terrorists by RDF and the SADC forces in Cabo Delgado. Mali's ruling military junta has appeared unflinching so far in the face of economic sanctions imposed a month ago by the country's West African neighbors, despite the sanctions beginning to have an effect. The Economic Community of West African States imposed trade sanctions and closed borders with Mali in a move backed by France, the United States, and the European Union in response to the junta postponing promised elections following 2020's coup. ECOWAS leaders also halted financial aid and froze Mali's assets at the Central Bank of West African States. The measures followed a proposal from Mali's junta to stay in power for up to 5 years before staging elections, despite an earlier commitment to hold a vote on February 27th. In one of the first tangible consequences of the measures, Mali defaulted on debt repayments worth more than $30 million in late January. Gunmen have attacked Libyan Prime Minister Abdulhamid Diba's convoy in the capital Tripoli, hours before the eastern-based parliament is due to convene to elect a new prime minister. The attack took place early on today as the interim leader was returning home. One of the bullets penetrated the windscreen of the Prime Minister's car, but he and his driver escaped unhurt. Libya's chief prosecutor has launched an investigation into the attack, though the Prime Minister's office has yet to release a statement. The attack comes amid intense factional wrangling over the control of the government, with the Prime Minister pledging to fight efforts by his opponents to replace him. France has sealed an $8.1 billion deal with Indonesia to sell 42 Rafale jets. After Indonesia signed the deal, the French Defense Minister, Florence Parly, said, "The choice Indonesia is making is one of sovereignty and technical excellence." He confirmed in a tweet that Indonesia will order 42 Rafale fighter jets. The contract signed today is for the first 6, which will be followed by 42 others. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson said the Ukraine crisis has grown into the most dangerous moment for Europe in decades. While his top diplomat held icy talks with her Moscow counterpart, who said the Kremlin won't accept lectures from the West. Joint military maneuvers between the Russian and Belarusian armies began today in Belarus. They take place on 5 military ground bases, 4 air bases, and different sites on Belarusian territory. For Kyiv and the West, these exercises are perceived as the means of pressure. Since November, more than 100,000 troops have been massed on Ukraine's borders with Russia. Russia is accused of being ready to carry out a new military operation against Kyiv, accusations rejected by the Kremlin, which asserts on the contrary, that it wants to ensure its security in the face of the behavior deemed hostile by Kyiv and NATO. Economic news is a regular feature on Radio Imanzi. Rwanda Stock Exchange Market Report for today, 10th February 2022. The trading session recorded a total turnover of 26,506,000 Rwandan francs worth of bonds traded in 2 deals on the fixed income market, and 833,000 Rwandan francs from 3,400 shares traded in 1 deal on the equities market. Bank of Kigali counter closed at 245 Rwandan francs. The trading session recorded a total turnover of 833,000 Rwandan francs from 3,400 shares traded in 1 deal. Bredgwa closed the counter at 125 Rwandan francs. I&M Bank closed the counter at 45 Rwandan francs. Simerwa closed the counter at 120 Rwandan francs. MTN Rwanda closed the counter at 180 Rwandan francs. Equity Bank closed the counter at 440 Rwandan francs. Kenya Commercial Bank closed the counter at 370 Rwandan francs. National Media Group closed the counter at 1,200 Rwandan francs. Uchuri Supermarket closed the counter at 104 Rwandan francs, and RH Buffalo closed the counter at 526 Rwandan francs as the counter closed. Currency market review of today. The Burundian franc buying price was 0.5 and the selling price was 0.51 Rwandan francs. The Kenyan shilling buying price was 8.8 Rwandan francs and the selling price was 9 Rwandan francs. The Tanzania shilling buying price was 0.43 Rwandan francs and the selling price was 0.44 Rwandan francs. The Ugandan shilling buying price was 0.28 Rwandan francs and the selling price was 0.29 Rwandan francs. The euro buying price was 1,146 Rwandan francs and the selling price was 1,169 Rwandan francs. The British pound buying price was 1,358 Rwandan francs and the selling price was 1,385 Rwandan francs. The US dollar buying price was 1,003 Rwandan francs and the selling price was 1,023 Rwandan francs. With that, we come to the end of tonight's edition.